Hey guys, Carl from Purple Plays. Today I'm going to be taking a look at a prototype of the upcoming game Motor City, the third game in the loaded roll and write line of games following the successful Fleet the Dice game and Three Sisters from designers Ben Pinchback and Matt Riddle, and this time adding third designer Adam Hill. I haven't had a chance yet to try Three Sisters, but I've enjoyed my plays of Fleet the Dice game. Let's head down to the table to see how this game plays solo, and then I'll meet you back up here to let you know my thoughts and give a bit of a comparison to Fleet the Dice game as well. To set up a solo game of Motor City, begin by placing out the two-player score sheets and the game board on the table. Take the red auditor die and set it to 1 and place it here in the 1 column. And then take one of these red audit cubes and set it aside your player sheet like this. The remainder of the dice that you'll be using for your playthrough will be determined by the difficulty level that you're playing. I will be playing on the intermediate level, so for my game I need 2 gray dice, 1 white die, and 2 blue dice. In addition to those regular dice, you will also always be using the black auditor die to help determine the AI's choices in the game. And then finally, before starting gameplay, you need to choose one of the 3 test tracks and one of the 6 engineering tracks to begin your play with. I'm going to choose this leftmost test track here, and I will choose this 3rd engineering track right here. Alright, so now that we're all set up for gameplay, let's go ahead and dive right in. I'm going to sort of walk you through each phase of the game as we play the phases of the game, and I'll explain the details as needed as we go along. Motor City will play out over 8 rounds, as you can see here on this bottom score track, and every round will consist of 3 phases. The first phase is going to be the planning phase. And in the planning phase, you're going to roll all of the dice, aside from the red die. That's special, and I'll explain that later. All of these dice will be rolled. And then you're going to seed the game board with those dice, placing the dice by color and number onto this board. This row is gray, this row is white, this row is blue, and then columns are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 moving across. So I'll put a 1 gray there, the 3 gray there, 2 white here, a 5 blue there, and a 1 blue there. This black die is going to remain off of the board, and all of this is going to do is this is going to determine what the AI does after it drafts its die in the next phase. After the planning phase is complete, we then move on to the industry phase. In the industry phase, the AI and myself will take turns drafting dice from the board, starting with myself in the odd-numbered rounds and the AI in the even-numbered rounds. So for example, in the first round, I will draft a die followed by the AI. I will draft a second die followed by the AI. And the final remaining die is going to be a special die that I get some use out of, but the AI does not. And that will repeat every round, with the only thing changing who drafts the first die in every round. Again, myself in the odd-numbered rounds and the AI in the even-numbered rounds. So when you draft a die, you're going to first trigger whatever the bonus action is underneath that die on the board. You will then have the option to take the action printed at the top of the column. You can upgrade the action printed at the top of the column by spending some money, and I'll explain that in a little bit. Or you can simply choose to fill in 1 space on the research track. And then you will place that die in one of these 4 slots over here to take an additional action as well. And then when the AI drafts a die, they are simply going to take the action at the top of the column, ignoring any bonuses, and they also do not get that second action. Now I mentioned after we have both drafted 2 dice, there will be 1 die remaining. That remaining die is going to be used by me simply to take the action at the top of the column or to fill in 1 space of the research track. With that final die, I do not have the ability to upgrade an ability, and I also do not get to place it in one of these spaces up here. So let's go through the different actions that are available to me. The first action here is this speedometer track down here on the lower scoring board. It's worth mentioning now that this speedometer track action can only be triggered by this column when you draft a die. It can never be triggered by placing a die here, and it will never be triggered by selecting from this wild action in the 6th column. There are a few spaces on the board, however, like this one right here, where you can see the symbol of the speedometer, and you will fill in a space in that case as well. But when you draft a die from the speedometer column, as you can see, there are no bonuses on that board. So all you would be doing is taking that action, and then of course placing your die in one of these 4 spaces and taking that action as well. When the AI drafts a die from the speedometer track, they're going to be crossing off from the opposite end of the track, basically removing spaces that I could fill in later in the game. And the number of spaces they will cross off is going to be based on the color of die that they're drafting. And this will be true for a lot of the actions the AI takes in the same way. A gray die is going to cross off 1 space, a white die will cross off 2 spaces, and a blue die will cross off 3 spaces. So whenever possible, I want to aim for the higher dice, means gray first, then white, then blue, to sort of limit how much damage the AI is doing on their turn. Next is the testing action here. When I take a testing action, I am going to cross off a number of spaces on any single track that I've unlocked. So in this case, only this track is unlocked. These 2 would need to be unlocked later. And I'm going to cross off a number of spaces equal to whatever my level is up here in my testing action. So all of my actions start at level 1. So at the beginning of the game, I would simply be filling in 1 space on a track of my choice that I have already unlocked. It's worth mentioning that as we upgrade these levels, we will be filling in more than 1 space, but when we do, it still has to be on a single track. We can't put 1 on this track and 1 on this track, and we'll see that as we get into gameplay. When the AI drafts from the testing track, what's going to happen is they're going to cross off, just like they did with the speedometer, from the end of a track. And the way they're going to do that is double. First, as I mentioned before, gray is going to cross off 1 space, white will cross off 2 spaces, and blue will cross off 3 spaces. And the track that they're aiming for is going to be based on this black die. If it's a 1 or a 2, they'll cross off from this first track. A 3 or a 4 will cross off in this second track, and a 5 or a 6 will cross off in this third track. The next action is the sales action. And when you take that action, you will simply be circling a number of spaces down here in the sales area, again based on the level of your action. When you circle one of these spaces, it becomes a usable dollar. And you can use those dollars to buy things later, and you'll simply be filling in the spaces that you've already circled in order to use those dollars. And those dollars can be used for 3 different things as shown up here. The first thing they can be used for is you can spend $5 to upgrade an action to level 2, or $7 to upgrade an action to level 3. And again, that happens when we draft a die from the board and not when we place a die here to take our second action. That again can also not happen with that final die that we get to use, especially that the AI can't take. We can also spend $4 to ignore the value of this red die, and I'll explain what that means in the next phase of the game, because that will play out in the third and final phase of every round. And then finally, this last one, I could spend $8 to unlock another test track. In addition, as I'm circling those spaces in the sales area, as I'm using my sales action, anytime I circle one of the circles that's inside these sort of marked sections, I immediately get whatever the bonus is shown at the top of that section. And I'll go over what all of the little symbols and bonuses mean after I've explained all of the main actions. But again, as you circle that space, you get the bonus. You do not need to spend the dollar in that space to get the bonus. Simply activate the space by taking the sales action. Now, when the AI takes the sales action, in this case, they don't care about the color of the die. They're only looking at the black die. If they roll a 1 or a 2, they will cross off the rightmost bonus on the first row. A 3 or a 4 cross off the rightmost bonus on the second row, and a 5 or a 6 will cross off the rightmost bonus on the bottom row. Now it's worth mentioning that even when the bonus is crossed off, we can still circle that area and get $1 from that space. We just don't get the bonus when we do so. The next action is the production action. And when we take a production action, we're going to be filling in a number of spaces on this track, again, equal to the level of our production action, starting here at this space next to the black arrow, and then working from a spot that we've already filled in, connecting a sort of line of spaces as we fill in. You will see on this track these sort of production hubs that they're called, these hex shapes. When you get to that space, you're going to simply draw a line around the outside of that space. All of these spaces are going to have some kind of sort of prerequisite or requirement that you need to have unlocked on another track in order to activate that space. So when you take the production action, you're simply going to circle or draw an outline on that space. And then at any point, if you meet those requirements, you'll unlock whatever the corner ability or corner bonus is for that hub. When the AI takes the production space, again, in this case, they don't care about the color of the die. They're only looking at the black die. If they roll a 1 or a 2, they will cross off one of the bonuses in the leftmost 2 hubs. A 3 or a 4 will choose from one of these 3 center hubs, and a 5 or a 6 will choose from one of these 3 rightmost hubs. And when I say choose, I as the player get to decide which bonus they're crossing off. The next action is the engineering action. The engineering action is going to be focused on this track, and again, we're going to fill in a number of spaces equal to the level of our action, but we can only choose to fill in a column where we've already unlocked. So right now at the start of the game, I can only fill in this center column. And later on, when we have multiple columns unlocked, just like I mentioned with the test track before, on a single action, we can only fill in spaces on a single track. I couldn't put one on one and one on another during a single action. When the AI takes the engineering action, we are again looking at the color of the dice. Gray will fill in 1 space, white will cross off 2 spaces, and blue will cross off 3 spaces. A 1 or a 2 on a black die will allow me to choose from one of the first 2 columns, 3 or a 4 the second 2 columns, and 5 or a 6 the 5th and 6th column. And again, they're crossing off spaces starting at the opposite end that I'm working from. Finally, this last space allows me to choose any of the 4 main actions, again, not allowing me to take the speedometer action. And should the AI ever draft a die from that space, it will simply use whatever the action is in the column with the red die. So now that I've explained the actions, let me sort of point out some of the bonuses that we will unlock. Anytime you see $1 or $2, you're going to be circling dollar spaces as if you'd taken the sales action. Any of these sort of paper-looking things, these are TPS reports. Some of the scoring conditions in the engineering section or some of these hubs in the production section are going to require you to have TPS reports as a requirement for that space. So anytime you get these, you can cross off any of those TPS reports of your choosing. Things like these tires and these containers are simply going to be prerequisites or requirements that you need to unlock certain hubs along the way. Anytime you see this meeple shape, you're going to be able to unlock a new engineering track. And anytime you see, say for example, this store, this car shape, that means I'm unlocking a new track. And I believe that's the only way for us to unlock new tracks, but there are a few ways that we can unlock new engineering spaces. If you see a space that contains the picture of an action, say for example the car space here, this engineering space here, this engineering space here, it means I get to take one action of that type at the level that I've currently unlocked it. But if you see one like this that has this +1 space next to it, you can also see one here, this engineering with the +1 space next to it. That means regardless of my level, I'm simply going to fill in one block or one space in that action type. Any space that has an arrow next to it, like this car with an arrow or this production with an arrow, means you're instantly going to get a free upgrade of that action. And it doesn't matter what level of action it is, it will always be free. So it's worth it for us to try to spend $5 to get the first level, so then we can get our $7 upgrade for free. This one here on the production track that shows a question mark means I can upgrade an action of my choosing. Any stars that we see with numbers are going to be endgame scoring. Anytime we see the speedometer, of course, means we're going to color in one space on a speedometer. And the last 2 important things that we're going to talk about right now are these light bulbs and these little purple certifications or certificates that you see on the board. The light bulbs are going to let you fill in spaces on the research track. And anytime you fill in a circular space on the research track, you can immediately take one of the 4 actions for free, or you can choose one of these 3 options in the shop. The first option is going to let us color in or fill in 2 TPS reports anywhere on our scoring sheets. The second option will allow us to unlock 1 engineering track, and this last option will give me 1 speedometer. And those can only be used once each per game. Otherwise, you can again take a free action using one of those research spaces. And finally, these certification spaces will let me check off one of these 4 certifications down here, giving me some kind of a bonus. So this first one will allow me to take any of the 4 actions at a level 3, regardless of my current level. plus fill in one space on the speedometer. This will simply give me 5 points at the end of the game. This one lets me circle any of the production hubs regardless of whether or not it's connected to any of my other connections. But I still have to make sure that whatever requirements are there are covered in before I can actually get the bonus from that hub. And then finally, this last one is going to change the endgame scoring of money. Usually at the end of the game, $5 will get you 1 point if they are not spent. But if we get this certification, we will get 1 point for every 2 unspent dollars. So again, in the industry phase, the AI and myself are going to be taking turns drafting dice to take these actions. And the last thing I need to explain about that phase is the way that the AI is going to draft its dice is based on where this red die is. It will start the top row, first column, or same column as the red die, and it will take that die. So in this case, it would start here, then here, then here, here, and here. So if I take this on my turn, it's going to draft this die. But if I took this on my turn, it's going to draft this die. So by drafting specific dice on my turn, I can sort of prevent the AI from drafting some dice or push them to draft a specific die. And again, because the gray dice are less damaging than white and white are less damaging than blue, that's going to be a really good idea for me to do that. So after we're done the industry phase and all of the actions have been taken, we move into the audit phase. And in this phase, we're going to first activate whatever the scoring level is on our speedometer. So whatever the highest or furthest space we've got filled in on the speedometer track with a point value, that point value will be written in that round's line down here in the score tracker. And after we've put that score here in our tracker, we're going to roll the red die. And whatever number it lands on, we'll place that die there. Again, sort of giving the AI a control or a priority order for drafting. But it will also decide or determine an action that's going to be blocked over here on this track. So for example, if I rolled this 4, this production will be blocked off in the next round. So for my secondary action, when I need to place the die down, I would not be allowed to use that production, unless, as I mentioned before, I spend $4 to ignore that cube. If a 6 is ever rolled, we are going to re-roll the red die. We will never have a red die in the 6th column. And if we ever roll a 1, then we get lucky because this will not be placed. But it will also prioritize the AI aiming for that speedometer, which it normally wouldn't be doing. So finally, before we get into the actual gameplay, let me just briefly go over the final scoring. Final scoring is going to add up all of the points that we've gotten from our speedometer, any stars that we've unlocked on the main board. We will also get these scoring conditions from the engineering tracks. This one gives me 3 points for every certification I've unlocked. This is 4 points for every tire that I've gotten. This gives me 3 points for every production hub that we've activated. And this one gives me 2 points for every research that we've filled in. And that means just the round circles that we've filled in by the end of the game. Lastly, there's one final thing that I should mention. This is a prototype copy of the game and all components are subject to change. This player board has already been changed once according to the instructions from the designer, but there's one last thing that I forgot to do right now, in that these 2 actions originally needed a TPS report to activate, and that has been removed from the current version of the game. So let me go ahead and cross those off, and we'll go ahead and get into the game. So we've already set up our first round of dice. So let's go ahead and take actions. This is an odd numbered round being the first round, so I will draft first. Now, I see, sorry, this should be a 1. I see that if I take this gray, he's going to draft this blue 1 and instantly cross off 3 on my speedometer, and I really don't want that to happen. And if I draft something else twice, he's going to take that and then that, same thing. So I'm going to start by drafting that blue die to make sure they don't get to do that. So I'm going to immediately fill in the first space on my speedometer. And then I get to place that on one of the 4 actions up here. It's still early yet. There's not a whole lot of focus yet. I can get $1 if I go to production. I can get $1 if I go to engineering. I can get $1, of course, if I go to sales. Or I can unlock this A container, which is potentially going to be a requirement for this hub up here. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to take the testing action. No. I'm going to aim for the production action simply because I know that I can't take a production action by drafting this round. So I will do that. Fill in this space right here, which gets me my first dollar. So then the AI drafts this gray die. It is a level 1 or a level gray die in the speedometer action. So it's going to simply cross off this highest speedometer space on the board. All right. So I know, depending on what I draft, the AI will either take this white 2 or this gray 3. The white 2 would allow it to cross off 2 spaces on this last track, which isn't horrible. The gray 3 would let it cross off the bottom star points in my sales track, which is potentially really far away and something I might not get to anyway. This gets me a bonus production. This gets me a research. And then I can either take testing or sales. Wouldn't mind getting some money though. Yeah, I'm going to let them take the white die. I'll take the gray die, which gets me one of these research spots. And a sales action. I could upgrade sales, but I don't have $5 yet, so I can't. So I will take a sales action, which right now is just level 1, which gets me 1 space. Then I get to place that somewhere else. What's this getting? That's $1. All right, let me place that. Yeah, let's stick it in sales again, getting me $1 more. He will draft the white die, which is in testing again, means 2 spaces. The 6 tells me it's this rightmost track, so he's going to cross off that one and that one in that track there. And then I get this last die, which I don't get the bonus for. I don't get to place here. I simply get to take this or cross off 1 research. I'll take the engineering, filling in this space right here, and taking $1 more. So that's the end of the first round. We write our score here as level 1 right now. And then we go ahead and roll the red die, which is a 1 again, which is nice-ish. That means I don't have to block anything, but it means he might cross off more of my speedometer, and we move in to the next round. Seeding the board, 2 6s, a 5, a 4, a 3. Second round, the AI goes first, so instantly they're drafting this white sales die. Again, color doesn't matter for sales. This is number 5. 5 and 6 is the bottom, so they're going to cross off that 4-point bonus right there. Now, for production and engineering, it does matter the color. No, sorry. For production, the color doesn't matter. For engineering, the color matters. They're going to cross off 3 spaces with that die. So if I take this, they'll get that. That's bad. If I take this, they'll get that. That's okay. So now I need to focus on one of these 3 dice because I can't take that one. This gets me $1 in engineering. These both get me $1 in wild. So I'm getting lots of money this turn. Let's think about orders of things here. If I take $1, well, in any way I'm getting $1. I can upgrade something, which might be nice to do. I can see that I'm about to get an upgrade production already here. So let's start there. I'm going to take this 6 to get $1, which also gets me this bonus light bulb here. And I'm going to use that as a production action, not taking the action, but upgrading. So I will fill in 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces to get 1 level of production. And then I will place that in engineering, which is going to let me fill this in, which gets me 1 more light bulb, which activates my research now. And if I'm working well, yeah, this is going to be good. I'm going to try and aim for production to get this space here, which means I need a TPS and I need that A container. There's nowhere I'm getting TPS right away, so I'm going to, instead of taking an extra action, I'm going to take this right here. So I could take that TPS report, and let's see, the E container is easy for me to get. Let's take that one as well. Okay, now the AI drafts this blue 4. Blue doesn't matter for production. So he's going to take a production action based on this black die 5 or 6, means I get to choose one of these 3 spaces to kill the bonus. That's an 8, that's a 6, and that's a 7, but let's see. Tire A is here, tire B is here, tire C is there. Container B is that one. Container C is that one. And container, no, that doesn't need a container. That just needs, that one looks like a easier one for me to get. If I focus on tracks, that's easier. If I focus on engineering, that's easier. Yeah, let me cross off this 7 here. Now my turn. One of these I'm going to draft and get everything from. The other one is just an extra die. So it doesn't really matter because they both have the same bonus. And in either way, I'm triggering those top actions. It just matters where I place the die. So I'm going to take this one, get $1. And that takes an engineering action, which goes here. And is going to, again, for free, upgrade my production. And then I will place that at production, going 1, 2, and trace here 3. And now for my final action, I'm going to take the testing action. I just realized I'm 1 short. That's too bad. Okay, so I'm crossing out this bottom space, but I'm still 1 away from that A, so I don't get the bonus this turn. But that's okay. We'll make it happen next turn. So that's the end of the turn again. I get 1 point this turn. We re-roll the red die as a 3. Means now the sales action will be blocked for the next round. And now we would re-roll to set up for the next round. All right, third round, I go first. And we can instantly see they're going to go for this production. I don't really want them to cross off another production, and I don't mind a single cross off here because that's a blank space anyway. No, but there's no way I can do that. I can't take this die and this die. If I take this, they'll get that. If I take this, they'll get that. But I'd rather them cross off one more here that's useless than cross off another potentially awesome production. So I'm going to start with that production there. So I get $2. 1, 2, and I take a production action level 3. And yeah, I'll just go ahead and fill in 1, 2 for $1, 3, which gets me another $1. And then I get to take an action except for sales because that's blocked unless I want to spend the $4, which I don't. I want to hold off on production because, no, it doesn't matter for right now. Okay, so let's do production again. I'm going to cross this one this time. And we can go over or down. This F yellow we may or may not get to. Do I want $1? Yeah, let's go down anyway. We got production early, means we're going to be filling in a lot anyway. All right, AI drafts this 1 and simply crosses off this space in the speedometer. Now, I don't mind them having, well, all of these are testing. Means all of these are crossing off spaces at the end of this track, and I want them to have the weakest one, which is gray, so I'll let them have gray. Means I'm going to take these 2, and I can either get an extra production square or 2 TPS. I want the TPS because that's going to fill in some nice stuff. So I'm going to take that. I get 2 of those, which are fairly rare. And I might aim for this middle one because that's going to be extra, every round point income, basically. That's good to have early. These points at the end, I don't care for now in the middle, this early in the game. So let me do that. And then I'm going to take the testing action because that's the column I took from. I'm still at just a level 1, and I only have one test track, so I have to color this one in. Yeah, I didn't have any money. Okay, good. So that gets me this A container, and now this is active. So I get to color in one more of my speedometer spaces. And now I get to place this either in testing or in engineering. I'm going to get another testing in just a second anyway. So I might as well place this in engineering so we can get that, which gets me the E container, which is that one, which means I fill in that, which is awesome. AI drafts the gray die. Again, one space, 6 means this track crosses off that one. And then finally, I get one final testing action, or I could cross off in research, but I don't need to do that. I'll just take that extra test. All right, so again, this time we are now at a 2 for our speedometer scoring. We re-roll the red die, get a 4. Means this time production is blocked off. And let's go ahead and reset for the next round. All right, round 4 is an even number. AI goes first. So instantly they're going to draft this gray 4. All right, so the production action with that 2 die means they're going to cross off one of these leftmost production hubs. And I've already activated that one. So they're going to be crossing off that one. So we weren't really heading down that way anyway, so I don't hugely care about that. So then it's my turn to draft another die. And I think I kind of want to do this for sure because I don't want them to cross off one of these 3 hubs. I've already gotten this one. That one is very nice to have if I can get there. And I wouldn't mind doing that if I can open this engineering track. So I'm going to take that to protect it, which gets me $2. And by doing that, automatically hits another engineering space. This is just a single block engineering space. So I do that. I need to work on getting another engineering spot soon. And with that, I take a production action, which gets me 3 spaces. And I am going to fill in these 3 so that I can get that extra speedometer track fill in. We've already got the TPS checked there, so I instantly get that space filled in. And now I get to place this somewhere. I'm going to place this on that car testing track because the next space here is an engineering track unlock. Aiming for that F wouldn't be a bad idea. And I've already got a lot of these hubs going, so scoring for hubs is also not a bad idea. Let's aim for this track here. AI drafts again, which is this gray die here. A single engineering space. Level 2 means one of these 2 tracks. Yeah. In order to get this hub scored, I need to get a certification. So that would be nice to have. But there are 2 other certifications over here as well. And there's one coming from the sales track also. But yeah, that's fine. I don't think I'm going to be scoring on the certifications, and getting a certification is better anyway. So let's do that. Then I can take either of these. Well, I'll take both of these, and this one has no bonus, means I'm going to take that die. Get one more research track filled in. Means engineering I can upgrade or get. There's an engineering upgrade there if I got that space. Placing on engineering now gets me 1. Yeah, no, I'm going to upgrade engineering. So I'm going to spend $5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to upgrade my engineering. And then I can choose to either take sales or engineering for that one. I will, yeah, let's place an engineering. Now, do I want to go for the new track or the old track? Let's go for the old track. Gets me $2 and a light bulb. So the light bulb's going to get me something right now, and I will get $2. Well, what do we want to do with the something right now? I could take another action. I could get another speedometer or I could get another engineering track. I'm not super worried about the engineering track right now. An extra speedometer is working towards more points, but the next one's empty. Yeah, I'm going to do that anyway. I'm going to take that speedometer and fill in that square, because I got another one coming soon on the sales track, which is nice. And I've also got another one coming right here. So I am now at level 4. That's the end of the round. I have 4 points for this round. I re-roll red. Is it 3? So we're going to block off sales this round, and we reset. All right, odd number round means I go first. Let's see, sales level 2 means I'm going to lose this testing action bonus. Either way, that's going to happen. So I don't need to block that. But, yeah, that's perfect. I don't care about these 2 blue 4s because that's a production action, and they've already crossed this one off, and that one's already been activated, and that's a 2. Means this action does nothing for the AI right now. So I might as well let them have one of those. All right, so I'm going to take one of these, I think. $3 or a light bulb. Right now, money is good because I need to start getting more of these car tracks if I'm going to get anything good. Yeah, let me take the money one. So I'll get $3. 1, 2, 3 gets me this speedometer. So I'm now at a 5. That's the sales action. I could upgrade sales, but I don't think I want to because I do want to get that extra track, and I don't want to spend money right now. I can't place that there. But anyway, okay, I'm going to take that sales action, which gets me 1. Then I place somewhere. I need the A tire for this scoring, which is the next thing on my testing track. Also, tires are going to score me points as soon as I finish up that. So that's not bad to do. Production is always good because I'm going crazy over there on the production track. And engineering is also nice. Yeah, I got lots of options. I'm going to take that testing to get that tire A, which gets me this there. And that's my turn. Means AI takes this sales level 2, crosses off this bonus, unfortunately, but it's not the end of the world. Again, I don't mind the AI getting this one. So either I get a TPS on $1 with that and a bonus, or I get $2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. $1 is good enough. And having the extra paper is a good thing because I need those a lot to start unlocking some of these other bonuses. So I will take that one. Use one of them here because I want to activate that soon. Take $1. And then, yeah, I'm going to use those $8. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I want to take this track here. I don't care about that C container because it's already been crossed off. An extra engineering track and the B tire would be nice, but I want to focus here because I got some certifications. I got the D. No, the D doesn't do any good for me either. Certifications are nice, but I score on tires. Engineering gets me some options. Yeah, maybe not. Let's go here. All right. So that was that. I took it from the engineering column, so I can either upgrade or use. There's no upgrading to be happening. So I can go here for 1 space to finish and waste an action, or I can go here for 2. Trying to think, are there any single engineerings coming up? There could be if I ever got that space, but I don't want to hope for it. But yeah, we still have plenty of rounds, and if I don't, then I'm wasting. So let's do this. We'll fill in these 2, getting me $3. 1, 2, unfortunately that bonus is gone. 3. AI drafts this die. Level 2 production would be here or here, but it can't do anything. So finally I get this, which is a production action, or I can always do a research, but I won't. Production action, 3 spaces. Yeah, I'm going to do something a little bit strange. I'm going down here 1, 2 to get this one. I forgot I still need that TPS report, but that's okay. And then 3. And the reason I'm doing this is because on another turn, 1, 2, 3, I can get a free upgrade, which might be that engineering or something else, plus another $1. And that's the round. I score 5 points for that round. We re-roll red, get a 6, have to roll it again. 3 means sales is blocked this time as well. We re-roll. And AI goes first, instantly drafting that 3 sales. Gray sale doesn't matter, that's level 2, which is awesome for me because it can't cross that off. I've already got that active, so that's nothing for me. Awesome. Production 2 is also going to be nothing for me. Now the question is, do I care about the production enough to go for it anyway? And the answer is maybe yes. But if I let him get that, he's going to cross off 2 in engineering, and I don't want that to happen. So the answer becomes no. All right, so then I don't need to draft that die, because there's no bonus there, and I'll get that automatically as the last die, because he won't get there. So I'm going to take this white engineering, gets me a light bulb, gets me engineering 2, goes here, and fills in that F container. And now I get to place that somewhere. I'm actually going to place that in production to do exactly what I said I was going to last time. So I get a free upgrade and $1. And that $1 goes down here. And I'm going to use the free upgrade on that engineering. So then they're going to draft this blue die again. Production 2 is one of these 2. Doesn't do anything for them. So my turn, I draft this blue. I get $1. What are we at? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got enough to upgrade. But I can't upgrade engineering, and that's what I just took. So we're going to have to take an engineering action. So we will fill in 1, 2, 3. I need to start getting some serious TPS reports or we're in trouble. And I've already gotten that. So the only way I'm getting them is from this bonus, this bonus, this bonus, or the board bonuses. And I just got a light bulb, so that goes there. And now I'm going to place either engineering or testing. Engineering is a big waste until I've gotten another engineering track unlocked. It's kind of a waste, not a waste, but sad that I only have a single testing, but I will use that first here to get one more of those, which crosses off this. Oh, no, that's not active yet. I still need to open that box or circle that space, but that'll happen. And then my final bonus is just that there. So I get 6 points for round 6. We roll the die as a 5. So next we're blocking off engineering. Re-rolling. I'm going first this round. This white is a white engineering, would be crossing off 2 in one of these columns, and it's looking more and more like I don't get to those columns. Yeah, I might try and rocket up this to get the paper and the certification, but we'll see. So I don't mind if they take that and cross off more here, because I'm not going to get there. And let's see. 6, oh, that's the 6 is engineering. This is also a single engineering. So in either case, they're going to get that one, or both if I'm not smart. The production doesn't matter again, because that's that 2 that does these again. And sales are also both 2, which doesn't matter. So these 3 dice I don't care about. I don't want them to get both of those. They're going to get 1. This gets me an engineering, $1, and a paper, which is very nice to have, but the engineering is wasted. This gets me anything and a paper anyway, so yeah, I need to take that die. I'm going to get that extra TPS, which I will do here since it's already open, and take that. Then I get an action of my choice, or an upgrade of my choice. Yeah, I'm going to upgrade testing, which costs me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'm going to use testing to fill in 2 spaces here and get myself a new engineering track. This is scoring me points on light bulbs if I get there, but this can get me one of those certifications, which might be nice to have because I want it for this. I don't think I'm ever getting those. Yeah, let's get this one and see if we can get up to the top. All right, then the AI takes that die, crosses off 1 in either space. I want that, so I will do this one right here. My turn to draft. A sales, a test single, $2. That gets me an extra bonus action. Do I care about a single test? That gets me a sales, but I'm at level 1 sale anyway. Yeah, I'm going to take that to take the light bulb, which gets me a free something, which I'll think about in just a second. That 3 triggers a sales action, so I'm just going to put 1 there. And, ooh, I'm going to hit another thing there. Yeah, why not? Let's play that on sales to get 1 more TPS report, which is likely going to be that one, or here. These are important. Let's aim for those. AI drafts that. Sales level 2, nothing happens. My last one is this is a production action. Hold on, before I did that, I forgot my extra here. I could get another engineering track, but there's only 1 more round after this. I'd rather take the free action, because we do want to rocket up that engineering track shot. I could get another testing action. Engineering gets me another light bulb. Testing gets me another light bulb. Another production is not really, I mean, I want to aim for those 2, but I'm not going to get that B because it's in a different place. Sales is only single right now, which is not great. Yeah, all right, let me take that, no, I'm going to get this engineering because I want to get to that certification if possible. It gets me 1 more light bulb. All right, now my final production. I might as well aim for this. And then we can fill in stuff to get other stuff later. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 here. Gets me that one. And that's the end of that round. I'm still at 6 points. We re-roll the red die. Nope, 6. There's a 2. Goes there. Means testing is blocked. So I'm not going to get a whole lot done in testing in the last round. We roll. And that's kind of sad because there's that single engineering I've been aiming for the whole time. And the first die they're going to draft because they draft first is that single engineer on a 5. Means they're going to cross off one of these 2. This one's already done, so they're going to take that away, which is fine because I'm never going there. And now my basic decision is whether they get that die or that die. Both of them are aiming for testing. Both of them are crossing off this track, so I don't care. Do I want $1 or a paper? I want that paper, so I'm going to take that so I can cross off this and activate that one. So I'm scoring on hubs, which I've got 4 already, and maybe 5. And I get an action of my choice, or an upgrade of my choice, but I only have $3, so I'm not upgrading anything. Yeah, I'm going to take engineering to do that and get $2. And then I'm going to place this on. Oh, that was stupid. I could have taken testing. Yeah, I'm going to say that. I took testing, and then I will place that on engineering. So I get to take a testing action. I will take this one. 1, 2, which gets me $2 on a light bulb. 1, 2 gets me my first certification. So again, this gets me 3 actions and a point on the speedometer, which would be good because it gets me another level. That gets me 5 points. gets me any hub, but I've got my hubs pretty well done. And this gets me money for unspent, or points for unspent money, which might not be a bad thing, because I don't know how much more I'm spending. And that would be 1, 2, 3, almost 4 points instead of just 1. But getting work done, and I'm about to get another one. Yeah, let's do that. We're going to do that to get a 3-3, level 3 action, and a speedometer. Level 3 action is going to be, I'm going to get paper from that, so I'm okay here. Oh, now I have my first certification, so that's taken care of. Yeah, so I don't need to worry too much about that paper. This would get me a sales and $3 and get me closer to that 5. Or I can take an engineering and waste one. Yeah, because my next thing is going to be pretty lousy anyway. Yeah, let me take an engineering. I'll fill in those. And waste one, that's fine. But that gets me one more paper, which is here. And it gets me one more certification, which I'm going to then take that money one. AI then is going to take that die, which triggers testing, gray 5, which is going to cross off either this one or this one. I will do that. So then finally I draft one of these blue ones, adding 1 spot to my speedometer. I can take sales or production. I do want that production space. And sales is not going to do much of anything for me. Ooh, this is nice. Watch this. I'll put this on production. I get this 1. And then 2, 3. Which gets me a light bulb, which then gets me 1 free action, which I'm going to use to get that there. Not going to score me a whole lot because I only got the 1 tire, but that's worth it. And then finally we take this last bonus action to fill in 1 more on our speedometer, which gives us 8 points for the final round. And now we go into our final scoring. So over here in engineering, I've got 4 points per tire, which I only have 1. And 2 points per production hub, which I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 14 points from there. Over here I've got 4, 4, and 6 is another 14 points for 28. I didn't get any points from the test track because I didn't make it to the end of any of those rows. And then finally for money, I've got 1 point for every $2, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which gets me 3 points, 29, 30, and 31. Adding up all of my points, 1 and 1 is 2, and 2 is 4, and 4 is 8. 5 is 13, and 6 is 19. Another 6 is 25. 25 and 8 is 33, and 31 gives me a score of 64 points. So with that final score of 64, we consult the solo score chart ranking, and it looks like I've built a Monte Carlo, the car that no one wants, but everyone has. Doesn't make me feel real good, but it is the sort of center middle scoring range, so not too unhappy with that score. So normally I would take a look at the components of the game, but as this is a prototype coming to Kickstarter soon, I can't really do that, but I do want to just mention the artwork and the way that everything is laid out. It looks really nice. All of the symbology is very clear. Everything really makes sense. There are a couple of small things that do need to be fixed up that I'm sure they will do. For example, this engineering action down here and this production action down here doesn't have the colored square like the actions do in other locations, but I think that's just an oversight that will get fixed in the final version. Otherwise, everything is very clear. The design looks nice. I do like the way that this is a blueprint for a car, and there's the test track, and the production facility looks like it's conveyor belts, and the engineering facility, you can see the desks and so on. So, I mean, it's got nice flavor. Everything looks really nice. But beyond that, again, it's a prototype for Kickstarter, so I can't really comment much on that. So maybe back up top, and I'll let you know what I think about the game. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the playthrough. As I mentioned up top, I have yet to play the new Three Sisters, but I have played Fleet the Dice game quite a bit, and I do enjoy it. But I have to say this up front because I do want to make sure that you understand, as I go through my sort of feelings about this game, it's going to be hard for me not to make a direct comparison to Fleet the Dice game, because this does sort of feel like a big brother to Fleet the Dice game. So as I talk about what I like and what I have concerns about with this game, I will be also making references to Fleet the Dice game and how it's improved or sort of maintained similar feeling from that game. Now, having said that, I do have to just basically come straight out and say, for me, this game completely replaces Fleet the Dice game. Having said that, if you haven't played Fleet the Dice game, I would definitely still say you should try it because it's still a very good game. But I think this game is better in all aspects when compared to Fleet the Dice game. So let's sort of talk about what I like and what feels like Fleet the Dice game to me. And the first thing is this. As I said before, I haven't played Three Sisters yet, so I'm not sure if this is also true about Three Sisters. But what makes these games different for me than most other roll and write games is that in most other roll and write games, you sort of roll a bunch of dice and you pick a number. And then you can, or symbol in some cases, but you take that number or that symbol and then you have a choice of sort of where on your sheet or in what sort of action or in what sort of way you're going to use that number to the best of your abilities. But here that's kind of different. And it's sort of what irked me the most about Fleet the Dice game is that in these games, it's more about the drafting of the dice. You roll a bunch of dice and then you take a die. And then basically whichever die you've taken dictates exactly what you need to do on the sheet. Basically normally just crossing off the next block in that section of the die that you've taken. Now in Fleet the Dice game, in the second half of the game, there are several spaces in each area. So you do have some decision space about how you're using each die. But for the most part, the game consists of being smart about which dice you draft when and how things play out with each other based on sort of the timing of those drafts and what you're sort of keeping away from your opponent. And I had a little bit of a problem with the AI in Fleet the Dice game as well, because the same thing as it is here, the AI is crossing off things from the bottom of the track of the die that it's drafted. And you do, of course, have some control over what the AI is drafting in that game, but to me, it never felt like it was really putting all that much pressure on me because most of the time, and this is probably because I'm not such a great player of these games anyway, but a lot of the time I never got to the ends of those tracks anyway, so it really wasn't doing much to me. It just sort of pushed me a little bit to try and spread out what the AI was doing so it didn't completely crush a single column, or focus the AI as much as possible on a single column and then just play on the rest of those columns. So there was some decision there, but those were sort of my two biggest issues with Fleet the Dice game. And I want to say this because I think that Motor City has improved both of those things quite a bit in this game. So first with the draft. This game still is very heavily focused on drafting the dice and taking the dice that you need to fit your current situation, but also doing your best to keep dice away from the opponent based on their current situation as well. But there are a couple of twists here. The main action you are still taking based on the die you draft, based on the column that you're taking the die from, and that column is completely dictated by the number. So that's sort of the same idea as Fleet the Dice game. But in this case, you're also getting the bonus from the space that you took from, and you're getting a secondary action that's based on placing your die on your player sheet in one of those four actions. So two things. First, the bonus action is really important because the bonus action is going to give me things like dollars, which is going to allow me to open new test tracks, which is going to allow me to upgrade those, those different actions that I can take. And then the second thing is I get to place a die in any of those four actions that's open at the time. Now, one of them is generally blocked by the audit die, and they may also be blocked by previous dice that I've placed in. But what that means is every turn, not only am I taking the action based on the thing that it says I should take, but then I get a free choice of what I do next. And I can sort of cascade those things or combo those things together in nice ways that wasn't really possible in Fleet the Dice game. And I really, really, really enjoy that about this game. Now, that draft, as I said, because of that is really cool, but also the die that I'm drafting not only is possibly used as an action, But instead of taking that action, I can also use the money to upgrade that action. And that feels really good because with this combo and the ability to place a die to take an action, I could legitimately take a die, upgrade that action, and then place the die in that same action to immediately take that action at a higher level with more spaces filled in. And I think that's really, really, really cool. So the drafting here is definitely improved over Fleet the Dice game. While it's still sort of the same main basic core mechanic, the thoughts here and the processes here going on in my brain feel a whole lot better, to me at least, than they did in the previous game. And more than that, the AI in this game, I think, is also a step up. It's still doing that same idea of crossing off the end of whichever track it's drafting. But there's some twists here that are pretty unique and pretty interesting, right? First, you've got that blue, gray, and white die. And gray crosses off 1, white crosses off 2, and blue crosses off 3 in a lot of these actions. So what that means is, while I said before in Fleet, I didn't always feel like there was any kind of pressure on me to avoid these dice. In this case, I really need to be careful with those blue dice because they could quickly fill up something and completely take away any strategy that I have. And also in the places where they don't work that way, say for example in the production track or the sales track, they're crossing off at a different location based on that black number die that's showing up, which means they could instantly be aiming for something that I was already aiming for, and I need to have to pay really, really, really much more attention this time about which dice I'm allowing the AI to draft, which dice I'm sort of forcing the AI to draft, right? Because sometimes you saw in my playthrough, I gave the AI a die that let them do nothing because of the actions that I had already previously taken in the game. So this puzzle of which dice to let through, which dice to take when to sort of control which dice the AI gets is a whole lot more interesting and fulfilling, or just feels great in this game. Now, having said all of that, if you are somebody who doesn't like a really crunchy, sort of more complicated game, these might be slight negatives for you. I prefer the decision space here. I prefer the extra choices. I prefer the extra sort of headspace or these thoughts that I need to think about as I play the game. But if you like Fleet for the more smooth, quicker, easier gameplay, I have to say it could potentially make things a little less interesting for you. But for me, I think this is a whole lot of fun as is. Now, we do have to talk a little bit about potential negatives here. And the main negative for me is that this game could get a little bit samey. I have played this many, many, many times right up to this point, and most, if not all of my plays have ended up in that same sort of middle score level. It doesn't seem to matter how much I try different things, I keep ending up relatively in that same sort of middle 60s score. So it's not punishingly hard in that I'm scoring really low, but also I don't know if it's that it's not clicking with me, if I'm just not great at this game, if I haven't sort of tried different things and tried to break the game in unique ways to get to those massive combos that do hit those higher point levels. I don't know for sure. But I have to say that every time I play this game, it does feel basically like the same game. And I am making a lot of the same decisions, which might be the same reason I keep getting the same sort of scores. And it doesn't take away from the game for me at all. I still enjoy every play. I still want to go back and play it again. But it does start to feel a little bit samey. Now the good news is I'm pretty sure that in the Kickstarter campaign that's coming up, there will be other things added to the game that I haven't seen yet. So I'm hoping that some of those additional pieces add to the variability and do make the game change up a little bit with each play. But for right now, I do need to mention that there is this idea that this possibility that the game starts to feel a little bit samey as you play. Saying that though, it is a roll and write game. And there's only so much you can do with a single score sheet that doesn't ever change, and a set of dice that doesn't ever change. Although again, you can change the difficulty level, so you do get a slightly different play out of that. But for the most part, most roll and writes feel this way. So I can't fault the game for feeling this way because that's sort of part and parcel for the style of game that it is. So if you understand that going in, if you've played other roll and writes and you sort of understand how that works, or you play this game, a few times now and then you take a break from it and come back and play a few times later, that sameness might not be that big a deal. But because I've been playing this a lot for the review, it might be that that's why it's starting to feel a little bit samey for me. Again, doesn't at all break my opinion of the game because I still really enjoy this game and I do still really want to play this game, but it's there and you should be aware of it. That said, I did just mention in this discussion of samey the idea of combos, and I haven't talked about that yet. The other thing that I do really enjoy about this game is the ability to hit these combos, especially in late game. As you start getting to the ends of some of these tracks, you unlock actions that trigger on other tracks, and then those tracks might trigger the research track, giving you free actions or free unlocks, or opening a new engineering track, spending money to open a new test track that now gives you a ton more availability, right? You start hitting these tires on the test track, you start hitting those containers in the engineering and test tracks, and they start unlocking the bonus points in the production area. You start hitting all the little things that score the extra points in the engineering area, and at the end of the game, this cascading combo really does feel great. So the nice thing about this game, the sort of spot that this hits in my collection is a really good one, because this is a roll and write game, and it definitely feels like a roll and write game in that the game length isn't super long. It does feel like a quick game. I do get to sit down, play through it, and it doesn't take too long to get through. But at the same time, in this quick game, I'm still getting a very thinky, very crunchy, nice sort of puzzle that I'm running through my brain as I play this game. So the ability to sort of feel like I'm playing a heavier board game without needing the time and the space and the energy to set up and play through a heavier board game is a pretty cool thing to me. So I really do like where this fits into sort of the collection, being a shorter, quicker game to play that still has some of that bigger headspace that you might get from a bigger board game. So with these combos, with the unique drafting, with the improved AI system, and also that audit round at the end of each round that blocks off a specific action and makes me sort of twist my thoughts in a specific way to meet the sort of constraints of that round. All of those things combined in this nice little roll and write package, I think this is a really good one. I would definitely tell you keep your eyes on this one if you're at all interested. If you did like Fleet the Dice game and you're excited for a little bit more crunch and a little bit more strategy, definitely take a look at this one. It will be hitting Kickstarter early March. I'll put the link down below so you can follow that and either follow or back the campaign depending on when you're watching this video. If you did like this video, please remember as always to like and subscribe below, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.